Hey, what's up, guys? It is the FireStarter here, being a substitute on Tim's channel.
Hello.
Shut your mouth, boy. We don't need your commentary. This is me. It's Mario time. Okay. So, I will be reviewing Sonic Boom Fire and Ice, if you cannot tell already. So, let's get into this. Well, Sonic Boom Fire and Ice. I don't think any of us were expecting a sequel to one of the worst Sonic games, financially and critically. That was Sonic Boom Rise of Lyric. But this is not Big Red Button that made this game. Sanzaru Games. The guys that made Shattered Crystal. So let's get into this. For the story, Eggman has discovered this new element called Ragnium, in which he plans to use it to beat Sonic in a race. Baby steps. Baby steps. Tim? Okay, so I can already, and yes, and in order to help mine this element that is Ragnium, he has created this robot called Defect, which he calls Defect because he calls him a failure because he can attract everything but Ragnium. So Eggman calls him a failure and names him Defect. Afterwards, Eggman decides to mine Ragnium on his own, and Defect is sent to make sure the fissures stay open, which are, these volcanic-like eruptions that are caused by the mining of the Ragnium. So yeah, and the reason why they need to stay open is so they can cause as much harm to the island as possible. So that's really it for the story, honestly. It's very simple. There's no time travel. There's no Shadow. There's no Metal Sonic. Just Sonic and Eggman. And the best way to summarize it is it's like I'm watching an episode of the cartoon show. It's very simple. There is funny dialogue in between cutscenes. And yeah, the characters do have their own funny moments also. So, let's go on to the gameplay right now. So, in the gameplay, you are in control of Sonic, Tails, Knuckles, Amy, and Sticks. So, Sonic, he can do a spin dash and air dash, and with the air dash, he can hit these blocks, which he can air dash through. Tails, he has his hover ability, which, with the help of air vents, he can fly to places unreached by any normal two-tailed fox. And as for Amy, she hits these pillars that lower, and then if necessary, she will jump onto them and wait for them to rise. Problem is, when you're running, you have to stop, switch to Amy, have to hit the hammer, hit the pillar with the hammer, and then you have to wait for it to lower, wait for it to rise, and then do it again, if that's necessary. So it's pretty boring, and most characters have an element of speed to their gameplay. And as for Knuckles, he has his punch ability, which I swear is taken directly from Little Mac's side B in Smash 4. I swear that's what they were going for. But yes, he can burrow, and he can go faster. He can burrow faster using his burrow mechanic thing. And as for Sticks, she uses her boomerang, which can be used for offensive purposes, like hitting enemies from afar. And if you hold the boomerang button, so Sticks, when you hold the boomerang button, you can control the boomerang manually while Sticks stays stationary, basically. And the main gimmick it's used for is for hitting these switches that can be accessed using that set ability. And unlike Amy's hammer, where you're just mindlessly hitting pillars, this actually has an element of skill and, difficulty to it. So yes, that's basically the gameplay. There are other. Let's talk about the bot races. These bot races are basically but in each world, once per world, Eggman will interrupt your current progression, not while you're in a level, while you're in the hub world, and capture you. Now, the thing is, you don't really have any option of whether you want to do this or not. It's forced, which honestly is a flaw for some people, but not for me. I didn't find it that, irritating. But yeah, basically, he'll just capture you and you'll be forced to race against his Ragnium-powered bots, which don't put up much of a fight. They go down rather easily. Yeah. We also have the worm tunnels, which it's pretty lame for me to call them the worm tunnels since this isn't Shattered Crystal, but I'm going to call them the worm tunnels because of unprofessionalism. So yes, I'm going to call them the worm tunnels. Basically, you're constantly moving forward. You can only move left and right, boost, and switch to Fire and Ice ability. It's also pretty easy, but you know what's not easy? Trying to get the time bonus. It's where you basically have to complete the level under a certain amount of time. These are so strict. If there was this one level where I thought I did it perfectly, and yet if I was a second too late, I would have not gotten the time bonus. It's just really strict. And if you want the time bonus, that's necessary for 100%ing the game. So yes, it's not too bad. For Tails' submarine, where basically you're in control of his submarine, and you have to dive for collectibles. You're basically diving for collectibles, and you have to, avoid these mines, and for some reason, pottery? I don't know. There's just random pieces of pottery. Tim, that's my 3DS case! You meanie! Mean. This is why you don't have 100 subscribers.
I have 95, okay?
Okay, let's get a move. So yes, and unlike Shattered Crystal, once you get the collectible in question, you are able to just end the stage and move on. You don't have to go back to the beginning or where it tells you to go. No, just complete it and end. Yeah. Let's briefly go over the collectibles and why you should not really care about them. Well, now, it kind of takes a certain mindset to really sink your teeth into these collectibles. Basically, they all go to bot racing, except for one. And if you don't like bot racing to begin with, that might be a deal breaker for you. But honestly, I think bot racing's fine enough. You have the multiplayer modes, but the multiplayer isn't online. It's just local, not even download play. Still. So let's run down the list of the collectibles that go to bot racing. The trading cards go to bot racing. The scraps go to bot racing. The Ragnium can go to bot racing. That's 3 out of 4 collectibles that you can find within the game. And 3 of them go to bot racing. So, if you don't like bot racing to begin with, it might be a deal breaker, like I said. Now, for the trading cards, they unlock new maps. Ragnium can get you new robots and abilities. And the scraps go to building a bot. But anyway, the only collectible that doesn't go to bot racing is Amy's hammer, which is another collectible found in each level, which I do not feel a difference. It allows you to switch out Amy's hammer, and from all I can tell, it's just cosmetic. So it doesn't, tamper with your gameplay style anyway. And just they're not very pleasant or creative. The only ones that I really do like is her basic hammer and her gold hammer. So yeah, that covers it for the collectible. So now let's talk about the main gimmick of the game, the fire dice mechanic. It's pretty simple. They don't do much with it. It's basically where if you're in ice mode, you can freeze blocks, and if you're in fire mode, you can melt said blocks. Now, I personally don't think it was used to its fullest ability, And my favorite world is Gothic Gardens, only because of one reason, besides the music and gameplay and set pieces. But that's because of the usage of the fire and ice mechanic. It has you constantly switching. It feels fast paced, and when you're able to go fast and speed run, use that skills that Tim doesn't have, but it feels really cool. And if the entire game were set up like that, I think it would make for an even better experience than what's already offered. But yeah, it's still a great game, even with the lacking fire and ice mechanic. But yeah, it's not too much of a deal breaker. It's just a bit of an annoyance. So hidden throughout each level are these challenge rooms. Now, at the end of the challenge room, you can get a collectible, the trading card. Now, like I said before about how the collectibles may not even be that great. But, the challenge rooms themselves, despite their name, they're definitely more challenging than the levels themselves. But that's not really saying much. Yeah, and, once you collect that trading card, you can't go back in. So once you collect the trading card, you can't go back into the challenger. They can offer some creative and fun level design. They're not full-on levels. They're just little segments. So yeah, challenge rooms aren't that challenging. Now, let's go into the biggest problem. For like the 50th time, I've mentioned this, and then I'm like, Tim, cut that out, because I forgot about something. Okay, now let's move on to the biggest problem with this game, in my opinion. So, in the game, well, for me, is that I don't think the characters' abilities were used to their fullest extent. Now, like I was talking about how, Tails can glide with the help of air vents, Knuckles can burrow, Sticks has her switch things. And, yes, Tim, thank you for reminding me of the hammer! Yeah, we have the hammer. Yes, the hammer. Yeah, let's talk about the hammer. Yes, we have the hammer. Who could forget about the awesome hammer? It's hammer time. Okay, now let's take it a step back. But on a more serious note. But, yeah. I like these characters' abilities. I wanted to see more of it. You don't. That's the problem. You can't see more of it. And if you do explore, you will be able to find, the character's abilities. But even then, as someone who 100% this game, even exploring where you have the most likely chance of finding a character-specific area, it's still not that much. I probably only found like 4 character-specific areas exploring that come to my head. Probably less. I'm just exaggerating. But yeah. I hope my opinions were clear on what I thought. And, it was easy to understand. I'm not in the minority here. Minority. Tim, no one cares. Fan break! Okay. Now let's talk about the boss fights, which, admittedly, I should have gotten to before I did the biggest problem. Yeah. But yes, the boss fights, they are fun. They have you team up with a character, so you'll team up with Sonic, Tails, Sonic and Amy. Not the hammer. Sonic and Knuckles. Yes! Sonic Mania confirmed! And Sonic and Sticks. And they're in a Sonic Rush styled gameplay to where they're basically, you use the both top and bottom screen, but you don't really get to change screens that often. You're usually stationary to one screen. These are quite fun. They're not that much more challenging than the levels themselves. but they are quite fun. For a laugh, I guess. That really wraps it up for Fire and Ice. Overall, please pick it up. I know people that like it. I enjoyed it, and I'm sure you will too. I had fun experience with it. I'm Tim. Encourage me to 100% the game, despite the hammer.
I didn't know about the hammer.
Thank you for watching. I know this might seem sloppy or unprofessional, but I had a What? Still, I like to seem professional like someone else I know. But, I did have a deadline to meet. So basically, I pulled a Sega. My excuse is I had a deadline to meet. Well, me and Sega aren't that different. Dang. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. This has been the FireStarter, the substitute. And I will see you later.